The Xfinity Series, the Cup Series, all head to the streets of Chicago. We get you ready from a betting perspective next on the NASCAR Betting Preview Show. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the NASCAR Betting Preview Show. Thank you for tuning in. I know this is July 4th week, almost the weekend for many. So thanks for coming in and spending some time with us here today. And unfortunately, we don't have Mark with us. He is on vacation. So Mark, hope you're having fun. Hopefully you're listening to the podcast somewhere on the beach, enjoying one of the corn cans that you've been showcasing on X. But I'm joined tonight by a couple gentlemen here that are going to help guide us, or at least talk through a couple things when it comes to how to bet the race this weekend. And I want to welcome one to the panel now. If you are new, this is Phil, the Full Tank with Phil podcast. And Phil just dropped his episode here recently. I haven't got to listen to it yet, Phil. But how was Nashville for you from a betting perspective?
Nashville made me realize overtimes are not for the gamblers. Maybe the first one or two, but five at that point, I literally ripped up my card in my mind and just said, whatever the hell happens here happens. So I ended up down a couple units, which I think is fine compared to what it could have been. But sometimes you just got to put your fan hat on instead of the gambling hat, and that's what we had to do at Nashville. So made it out, just down a couple units, but still, feeling pretty good coming into this week.
I think the title of your podcast last week was Cashville, so not Cashville in this
My
regard.
Cashville, yeah.
Your Cashville, yes. Your Cashville is going to the books. What about you, Ryan? Ryan of WinTheRace.info. How are you?
Overtime made me want to jump off my roof.
Which one?
The second floor. The highest.
No. Which overtime? Not floor.
Yeah, not the second overtime. Fucking all of them.
Yep.
With 2 laps to go, actually, 2 is the dirtiest number ever, because that dirty scumbag is the one that fucked everything in this race. So he shouldn't even be out there. It's a fucking shame he's going to be in the playoffs. I'm not holding back here. I mean, what a joke of a race car driver. I just can't even believe it. He's racing for, what was it, 22nd, something like that.
Somewhere like that.
Fucking, not just for us. Think about all the outcomes that he changed throughout the entire race. Joey Logano has no fucking business winning that race at all. And the coolest story, which is now not a story, is how Denny's got to fight through the shit with Justin Haley in stage 1, then not taking 2 tires when he should have, and other guys did, and he lost a little track position, fighting back basically the entire race to finally get there at the end with 7 laps to go or whatever it was to win the race. That's a cool story. And I'm not a Denny, it's not like I don't like Denny Hamlin. I'm not a Denny Hamlin fan. I don't really have a favorite race car driver. I just thought for the sport, that was the coolest part of the race, is he fought back and the best car should have won the race. But that's just not what happens. So is what it is. I was winning the big FanDuel tournament with 2 laps left. That's, 3-4K in the pocket right there, winning every single bet that I made except for the Denny winning stage 1 bet. It just was brutal. So terrible swing. I hate overtime. I wish the race would have just ended. That's it. Between Texas overtime and this overtime, death.
So overtimes are obviously not your friend. But Ryan, for you, like you said, 2 laps to go, I was winning all my matchups. I was winning the play there where you could have had a couple grand in your pocket. But you look at that, right, and you say, okay, from a process standpoint, I was correct. I was right on all my stuff, and you continue that going forward. Correct? You don't go back and can't really change anything.
I like that part of it, but it doesn't really hurt less. That was a hard.
No, I get it.
I feel like lately it's we've gone through like 5 or 6 races now where there's been a lot of weird stuff, whether it's rain, changing the strategy or fuel strategy or things like that, which are cool a lot of times for the fans.
Sure.
I honestly didn't think this overtime was good as a fan. I thought it was kind of a joke. Like, it was just stupid. It was such a waste of time to sit there for hours while they what did it take? An hour just to do overtime? I mean, that's
I think
insane.
Yeah, I think from a fan's perspective, yeah, from a bettor's perspective, you're right. Like, just annoying as could be. Like, I saw some people were up, a couple units, then they ended up being 15, and just the numbers ebbed and flowed. I didn't even get to see it. I left early because the rains were coming, and it was like a massive wave of clouds. So I got out of there because I was thinking, okay, I'm going to get to the airport, don't want to be late, all that. I ended up having a 16-hour delay in the airport, not only in Nashville, but then got to Charlotte, got in at about 2:30 a.m., slept on the floor till my next flight home at 7:30. It was quite the trip, and it was only one storm. So it was just a little unfortunate, but I watched it from the airport, and I was so bummed because that was a wild race, and yes, a lot of things happened from a betting standpoint. It sucked for many, but I'm glad we don't see that was a truck race. A truck race broke out in a cup race, and I'm glad that we don't get that a whole lot.
That ending was a truck race on a super speedway. I mean, maybe
True.
whoever named Nashville Super Speedway was onto something because they tried their hardest.
And up until that point, which is crazy, is that every race over the weekend was pretty much a snooze fest. Like, I don't think the truck race was overall that great. I was standing in turn 3 watching it, and I don't think it was anything spectacular. Xfinity race, nothing there, and then the cup race up till that point, really no action. But I wish Nashville was in the playoffs more than any of these other proposed tracks that are going to be in the playoffs that, like New Hampshire. New Hampshire, I can kind of get behind a little bit, but Gateway, I can't really get behind. I wish we had some of those other markets. It's a great market. If you guys haven't been to that area, I highly recommend it. So many cool people, not only that come from the industry, but and it was super hot. I think I got too hot. 107, 105 degrees. It'll make Fat Boy sweat pretty quick. So I was not having a great time with that. But let's do this. Let's dive into the rapid fire. And I almost wish I would have put a segment here called Ryan Rants, because I feel like, Ryan, tonight you would have had a couple of rants queued up, ready to go. But let's dive into rapid fire. And actually, Phil, I'm going to throw it over to you. Hey, you got a question for Ryan. So we're going to just lead off in a whole different way.
A little bit different way. I threw this in the private chat as Ryan was going on about the 2-car. Ryan, rapid fire question for you. Who is more of a Nepo baby? Austin Cindric or Bronny James just signing a $9 million deal with the Lakers after being drafted?
I guess I got to go Bronny James there. I didn't think I could ever go against Austin Cindric in anything after what he's done, but yeah, that's a good one. I guess we'll stick with Bronny there because, Austin Cindric, at least I talk all this shit about him, but I'm also on my couch. So, it is what it is. And he's won races. So whatever.
Fair enough.
Call it luck. It's called luck at Gateway. He was fast at Gateway. He put himself in a position to be lucky. And then, winning on a super speedway, people go their whole career without doing it. So he's done some cool shit, but boy, did he make me mad. So I don't know. I don't want to. I'm going to talk about it more tonight. So
I want to bring him up next, actually, because I saw Brian Twining put on the message board here about Cindric will not make it out of round 1. And I actually think that's false. I think he makes it out of round 1 in the playoffs because we have Watkins Glen. We got Atlanta. He's pretty good at super speedways, pretty good at road courses, can kind of just get himself around. And then you have Bristol. So I'm thinking this would be an interesting play if the books would ever give us advance through the round. My money would be on Austin Cindric, and I'll take money from anybody that wants to bake that bet with me personally. I'd love to have a little action that way, but maybe that's because Austin Cindric didn't hurt me the way that he hurt some of you guys. So, Phil, as we look ahead to Chicago then this weekend, I'm very curious from a head-to-head matchup. We know that there's a couple guys that a lot of people are talking about and eyeing. SVG, who we'll probably talk about at some point here tonight, and AJ Allmendinger. Who you like there?
Am I choosing between them?
But choose between them.
I was going to talk about AJ later in some capacity. I think
still can.
My thought process here is that they both kind of have to be on your card in some way. If you believe in AJ, but SVG, I mean, what he did last year, eye-opening. What he's done this year in Xfinity, like pretty damn good. So you can't. I don't feel like you can slight him and go against him. AJ has a knack sometimes for finding like ways to lose it. So I will in a head-to-head matchup. I'll go with SVG.
Ryan, question for you, and we're going to stick with the SVG part. Did the books get it right by having him as the favorite?
The way that they've been pricing things, I mean, where you just kind of list 4 or 5 guys all as the favorite, I'd say he's rightfully one of them. So I've seen them kind of fluctuate a little bit. Like, in some books when he opened, he wasn't, then he got there, and then another book would open and he was the favorite to begin with. And then I've seen him float down a little bit on a couple. So I don't know. I think he's right. He should be up there with these guys until he proves otherwise.
Yeah. Phil, then question back to you. When you look at Chicago street course, I know last year you kind of have to throw it out with all the rain and everything. What track, if any, do you even look at as, hey, there's a comp here? And there's many people that are watching that have never bet on the race before, but because it's marketed so well and it's going to be at Chicago, people might get a little action. Is there any track where people can go back and say, watch that race or look at those statistics because that's going to line up with this race at all?
To me personally, no. I feel like I think you have to set aside like it's a street race compared to road courses, which we're used to having. So I think there's definitely a difference there, and just like the way the whole thing's made up. You're still turning right and left. So to me, it's more of like the aggregate. So looking at what we've seen so far this year, small sample size, and then extending it out. I'm going back to the start of last year. So that does put a little bit more of an emphasis on Coda and Sonoma, obviously, because they're in there twice a piece. But rain included, I think you have to look at Chicago, what went down just to know, and then the aggregate of what these guys have been able to do on turning right and left.
Yeah. That's an interesting point there. And I think because of the rain last year, I think for me personally, an interesting combination. We had I'll call it a shit show of overtime, 5 overtimes we had in Nashville, plus what we saw last year with some of the rain. And I know there's weather that could be an issue again this weekend. I think for me, that's why I'm maybe staying away personally this weekend so far. But I'm curious what you guys have to say tonight because I'm thinking that might be an interesting, angle for me just to kind of listen because my mind is kind of in a different zone right now. So Ryan, question then for you. When we look at drivers coming into this weekend's race, is there one in particular that stands out above the rest that I'm going to give him an extra look that maybe nobody else is talking about?
And it would depend on what market you're looking at, but I think Ross Chastain only because it was a Trackhouse car that dominated this race last year. It was unbelievably fast. SVG is not in that car this year. Supposedly it was that magical chassis. We don't know who's ever going to get that again. And then you look at Ross Chastain at the road courses this season, 2 very different road courses, 2 great results. I had him as the 4th best true performance and the 3rd best true performance in those 2 races. So really like Ross Chastain, and if they give him that magical speed that Trackhouse can sometimes come away with, maybe he's interesting. I don't know, and it depends on what you call interesting. If it's top 5, top 10, something like that, you find him in a matchup, maybe hit that. But he's one guy that I was like, I'm going to take a deeper dive on this one.
I think that was the guy I was looking at too, because you see how the odds boards even listed out, and then he's at 30-1 and above in some places there. That magical chassis, I believe, has to be going to him because his teammate Suarez already has a win, and Chastain doesn't yet. He's good on points, but doesn't yet. So I have to imagine that chassis. Phil, then next question to you. You look ahead at all past Chicago for any reason of any betting, analysis, or are you focused solely on Chicago this week? Are you looking ahead to maybe Pocono or Indy for anything?
I guess rephrase the question for me, like to do anything this weekend, like, or to lay any action down, like future bets, or what are you saying, like to gain anything from this? What's the question mean?
Yeah, that's a good. I don't know if you can hear me or not, but my audio did go out.
Okay, we got you.
Yeah. So I saw your mouth moving. I don't know if I could hear you exactly. So this weekend, are you looking at anything else outside of all right, the Xfinity race and the Cup race on Sunday, or are you solely focused on all right? Here's who we have going in on Saturday and Sunday. I don't know what my question was anymore because I lost everything.
Well, so I am not focused on Pocono yet. I think once probably like 4th of July hangover wears off, then maybe I'll look ahead to Pocono, which is a little sooner than I would in a normal week. But yeah, I mean, we obviously can't lay any action down, so I can't do anything. But I'm not particularly like in love with this race, so
Yeah.
it's not like I'm like dying for this to happen. It's not like the Coke 600 like last holiday.
Yeah.
So
Right.
no, I'm not really excited for this race in particular. I think, like SC said in the chat, it's a live betting race, and we can kind of get ahead of our Pocono notes early in the week.
Well, that's what happens when you try to BS a question after everything kind of shuts down. I don't know what happened to my audio. I don't know what happened to all my notes, but I BS'd a question. So there we go. Ryan, for you, because I'm getting everything loaded up here again. Monday morning headline will read what?
I'll be a little different here than I'll say Tyler Reddick wins on a road course again. He's back.
Okay.
Back as the road course guy. Even though it's a street, I know it's different, but maybe the headline is Tyler Reddick can win on roads and streets. I don't know.
Roads and
Something
streets.
like that.
And Phil, what about for you? I'm doing a double whammy tonight because we don't have Mark and we don't have a guest. Monday morning headline reads what for you?
Well, I like the Reddick call out. So we'll talk about him later. But my headline, to be different and to align with something else that I feel, is Chevy continues their road course dominance.
Oh, Chevy continues the road course dominance. So let's move into Rider Fade, which is our head-to-head segment. And before I get into to this part of the show, I want to remind everybody that the back road is not going to be happening tomorrow because it is the 4th of July. It'll be happening right after the show here on YouTube. So follow In Between Media. If you're watching here in the comments on YouTube or X, make sure you stick around for the show that Seth and the boys put on there. So I'll remind you guys at the end of the show as well. But Phil, I want to stick with you. First off, what are you drinking, by the way? Don't tell me it's lemonade.
No, I got some beers flowing here.
What do you got?
It's a local, John. It's Up and Out. It's called.
Did you bring that up one time? Did you bring Up and Out up to the house one time? Maybe
to your house?
Yeah.
No, that was Tired Hands. Yeah, that was a different.
Oh,
brewery.
okay. So there was something.
Yeah.
Head-to-head wise, what'd you find for us? What do you like? What's on the board? Is it Josh Berry minus 200 again?
Dude, fuck that. That was crazy.
Was that hitting? Was that hitting with 2 to go?
No, he was losing it when Denny was catching Ross at the end of the real race. He was losing. He was just dropping, and Briscoe's going up, and then they find he passed him legit, and then Barry obviously got into his stuff. But yeah, crazy. I cannot believe that. Hats off to Briscoe, and then he almost blew it. But then Briscoe almost blew it, but then Barry had already kind of fucked up.
Who were you rooting for in that last restart? You had Zane, you had Briscoe. I assume nobody was rooting for Logano because he wins a decent amount of time anyways. I was rooting for guys that like never wins. Who are you rooting for?
Well, Zane would have helped because I had Chevy.
Okay, yeah.
But at the end of the day, I had, like I told you, I had like mentally ripped everything up. My mind, even though I didn't have him, I had him to win a head-to-head Logano. But I said, hey, I've got Logano. I'm overexposed win total this year, 1.5.
Okay.
If he just sneaks this one out, I got 18 races to cash that. Like he hasn't sniffed. So now that win total is in play. So that's what it's kind of cheering for, like the 5th restart. So yeah. There you go.
All right. So who's the head-to-head that you got?
We're gonna keep Joey Logano in the mind here. But I'm fading him in a matchup, and you guys, I'm anxious to hear the conversation here because I feel like I could get ripped apart. I'm going Kyle Busch over Joey Logano, minus 125 on DraftKings. We got Logano. I'll say the positive things about Logano first. Obviously, that momentum. I mean, that team must be on cloud 9, having all 3 of those guys in. He's going to get Xfinity time, taking over for YouTuber Haley Deegan. So, like, that's going to be positive for Logano, getting to see the track. And he finished 8th last year. But you know who finished ahead of him? Kyle Busch. And Kyle finished 5th in this race. We talk about Kyle Busch now for the last month plus about how terrible he's been. I've been leading that charge. I've been someone that has made fun of him quite a bit, faded him and won. But I'm here to tell you this is the week it stops. Because if you look, to me, Kyle, I know that they're not going to want to, but if they look and see, they finished 12th and 9th this year on road courses. Like, if they've been shit everywhere else, they can at least rally around the fact like, hey, there's an opportunity here for us. Like, we did well last year. We're not dog shit on road courses so far this year. Like, let's get behind this. And he's 2-0 against Logano so far this season, head to head. And if we're looking since the start of 2023, that's 8 road courses. He's got 4 top 5s, 5 top 10s, and 7 for 8, finishing inside the top 15. That's a 10.4 average finish. Joey with a 15.0 average finish. He's got 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s. Kyle's 5-3 against him head to head in that time span. Ryan's pre-ranks have him as the biggest gap that I've seen on a head-to-head matchup, which is a 9-spot difference. And if you're looking at green flag speed over the last 8 races, Kyle's at 9th, Joey's at 17th. Joey has just not really been fast. And I know he wasn't fast last week and he got it done, but he just hasn't unloaded fast. Kyle, you have reason to believe that they're starting to build a little momentum. Andy Petrie being out, we called it out last week. You saw that he wasn't terrible last week. It's just the bad luck. They've got something follow them, that whole team, Austin too. Just bad luck. I think this is an opportunity for them to just kind of, hit their marks, stay out of trouble. And I think they win this matchup. I'm not asking Kyle to win the race and get in the playoffs, but I think he beats Joey Logano.
Well, and this goes right in line as well with your win on Sunday, fade the following week. You like to fade the winner from time to time. Ryan, Phil said that your models kind of are saying this is the right side. What do you think?
Yeah, I just bet it while he was talking. So
there you go, Phil.
All right,
I will ride with you and bet this hard. So the true average running position on all the tracks where we turn right and left in the next gen car, the top true average running position starts with Reddick, which there's a lot of obvious names here: Reddick, Bell, Gibbs, Dinger, SVG, Kyle Busch. KFB. So I mean, he's with the top dudes. You down to Logano, he's running near Austin Dillon. So it's not something that I'm particularly thrilled with Logano. And then you look at this year, obviously Kyle Busch has just had a brutal year. But if you look at the road courses, it's a completely different team. So I can stick with Kyle Busch on a road course. I don't think he's necessarily done yet. Although on ovals, it's going to be so hard to bet him. This is it. If he can't do this one, he's got to officially be dead for us. So I don't know. I'll ride with you, and I bet it.
Loser leaves town match for Kyle Busch. If he can't win this one, he's
exactly.
Not.
I like that. I always like a good loser leaves town bet. What about you, Ryan? What have you found on your end of things, like from a betting perspective, head-to-head wise?
So I get limited here, but if you have FanDuel, the AJ minus 166 over Cindric, I don't mind the juice here at all. I'm going to see how much this 2-car can just punish me in back-to-back weeks. If he somehow can pull this off, I'll just be a dead man. But I maxed this bet at what FanDuel would allow me to bet it. The Sim Center has it fair at minus 260. You look at my pre-practice and qualifying ranks, AJ's 7, Cindric's 20. AJ's got an average running position of 4th best in the 8 next-gen road and street races at 10.46. Only Reddick, Bell, and Gibbs are better. I just mentioned that, talking about the other bet. The average running position for Cindric is 19.62, so he's 9 to 10 positions worse than AJ on average. AJ's got 5 top 10s. Only Reddick has ran a higher percentage of laps inside the top 10 in those races. AJ's at almost 67% of his laps. It's running inside the top 10, while Cindric's sitting at 13.16% of laps ran inside the top 10. So they're just not the same racer here. AJ, when he comes into these races, he's racing for a win only. There's only one thing on his mind: getting the win. Cindric, I don't know if he'd ever points race or if he'd even be in a position to at all. but he's already got a win. He's in the playoffs. AJ's just there to win at all. So if it does come down to some sort of weird strategy race, AJ's always looking to win. And if we look at Chicago only, you look at like quality pass percentage. So in that race, when they actually were racing and it wasn't all the rain shenanigans and all that stuff, who was passing people on the track? The top in the quality pass percentage is like Larson, SVG, McDowell, Gibbs, all great road racers. AJ's up there with them. Cindric is like, down mid-pack or a little bit worse. So although Cindric got that lucky good finish here, I don't think that's indicative of how he's going to run. So I'd take AJ all day in this and pay the juice.
You take AJ. You said minus 166 right now. FanDuel has that. I got a question for you. I see somebody's right now here. Chris is saying about Haley. Haley was a topic of conversation. I was hoping we might even brief here tonight. Any Haley matchups out there that you've been able to find as you search the various books?
I can punch him into the Sim Center real quick and just see what he's got out there for head-to-heads.
He's an interesting guy, just continuing to make or take advantage of the equipment that he's in. But I guess we got to put a little respect on his name because he is coming in. I think I brought it up last week. Like, who would you rather better finish? And I forget the two drivers, but I know Haley was one, and everybody was siding the other way. But
Barry. It was Barry.
Oh, and who did he beat? Barry?
Yeah, he beat Barry.
Look at that. Look at that. I would have been right.
He's performing well outside of his equipment. It's crazy.
That technical alliance is really doing some good.
I think we gotta. I mean, look, I'm more conservative than I usually am. Just like kind of winging it. I saw the top 3 conversation there in the chat.
I saw that. Yeah.
I mean, plus 285 for a top 10. I wouldn't tell you not to do that. I mean, he's been proving people wrong, myself included. So I would sprinkle.
Dumb question. And then Ryan, I'm going to see if you found any matchups at all. But are they doing double file restarts? I know last year they didn't because they did the single file because of weather and all that. But I don't know if that was something they wanted to really move into because of how technical some of the track is. Or do you know if they're doing any?
That I'll be honest, I have not looked at yet. I don't know if they're doing single or doubles.
Okay, well.
I don't know if that was because of a rain thing or just being a new track thing or what it was.
I think it was a rain thing because like even the rain tires was brand new. I mean, I know they did it at Coda, but it was a shit show at Coda. Would you find anything with a head-to-head? Just kind of throwing it out there as a question.
No, we have the Sim Center hooked up to Caesars, DK, FanDuel, MGM. Yep. I didn't find anything for Haley. And my head-to-head was the Dinger one I just said. So
yeah, right. So then let's do that.
Also, too, I would not ride with Phil taking the Haley top 10. No, thank you.
Oh, there you go. So then let's move into positional props where we can talk about top 10s, top 5s, top 3s, and anything in between. Ryan, what you got for us this week? We know you're not going Haley.
Not Haley. I think, you mentioned like 2-something for Haley. You can get Alex Bowman on FanDuel plus 330. Which I think that's kind of a silly number considering it would only have to hit 24% of the time. And in the next gen road and street races, he's hit this 50% of the time. Not to say he should be even money here because it's kind of a stacked field, but he hasn't been trash on road courses. I have him pretty close in the pre-practice and qualifying ranks at 14. He does have a true average running position of 9th best in the next gen road and street races. So that's top 10 there. I think there's enough here where you could sprinkle on the plus 330. These assholes limited me on this one too, so hopefully they don't do that to you guys, and you can take advantage of this plus 330 number.
I like that. What about you, Phil?
Well, that's an interesting call out. Bowman definitely kind of slipped through my eyes there when I was looking at it. So
I will say one other thing that Phil mentioned earlier. He mentioned the Chevy dominance on road courses this year, which is true. The only two road courses we've had have both been won by HMS. So there's another good thing for Bowman.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'll probably get into that a little bit more in the next segment.
Okay.
But I'll throw one that's potentially controversial just to have a little bit of fun.
I like controversy.
See if anyone wants to chirp me here too. So I was glad that Kyle Busch, I survived that one. Seems like we're all in agreement there. This is one I was actually planning on talking about AJ top 10, but I thought Ryan did a very eloquent job talking about him versus Cindric.
What's the best number you found there?
On a top 10, you
For
can get him
AJ,
at
yeah.
minus 136 on Bet Rivers. You can also get him in the Caesars Speakeasy under 8.5 for minus 115. I know you can't, Ryan, unfortunately. But yeah, minus
Rivers,
136 Bet Rivers is the best I saw around like 5 o'clock today.
I'll look into that one. I may be tailing you a lot tonight, Phil. Let's do it.
Phil's lead the charge.
Well, maybe we'll stop that right here. I was looking at the over-unders on Caesar per driver.
Yep.
And I've had success with these. We hit Dylan last week over his number. So bear with me. Brad Keselowski's number is 21.5, and he's plus 100. He's plus 100 to go under that. And so immediately my eyes went to, okay, let's take the over and bet against Brad. It worked for Dylan. But I got into it, and I came to a path to the window on the plus money, and this is my reasoning here, okay? Because I'll call out all the negatives first. He's green flag speed, his general speed on road courses has not been great, not been good. But there is a progression of like getting better since Chicago of last year. You could kind of make that case. Last year in this race, he practiced 10th, which is weird. Started 20th and then ran, mid 20s all race, finished 24th. So he missed this bet last year. His green flag speed was terrible. I'm chalking that up to, new track in the rain. Here's the deal. You look at his last 8 races. I think I've honed in on the fact that he and Coda just don't get along. He does not do well at Coda. 0 for 4 top 15s. Last 2 races at Coda, which are within this last 8 race data point, outside the top 30 in both those races. Okay. He doesn't like Coda. If you bear with me and just remove Coda from the equation here, he's hit this bet 5 of 6 times. The only race he didn't hit it was Chicago, where he just missed it at 24. So the point I'm trying to make here is at plus 100. He's coming off a 13th place finish at Sonoma. He's got a teammate who's one of the best in the business on road courses at RFK with Chris Buescher. I think there's something to it there with plus 100 to get a 21st place finish or better. And I can understand how that would probably turn some people off because he just doesn't have the raw speed that you would like to see. But 5 of 6, if you're throwing Coda out of the mix, I think I'm interested in that. So yeah, I'll gladly take my my whip in here if anyone wants to rip me apart. But yeah, there we go. That's the finishing position bet that I had.
This feels like debate night. I'm going to give you the floor first, Ryan.
I just think that I don't know. There's no strong argument either. I mean, I know you said everything that you said, but like he is gonna spin, and I would just want to see your face when he spins and finishes 22nd. So it's kind of right on the money. Like his average running position in the 8 races is like 21.38. So I mean, it's probably all they look at when they come up with these numbers. And then I don't know. I mean, it seems you made some great points. It's just a bet that I just can't go. I can't go near it anyways because I'm in New York. So there we go. They saved me from myself. So
I have a nickname for you, Ryan. I was thinking about one. So I think you're going to be called Mr. Limited. I know Russell Wilson's Mr. Unlimited. I think you're Mr. Limited. So
yeah, I do want to be the opposite of what he is. So that's great.
Yes. Greatness. So there you go. So then there is that. So Ryan, not a big fan of that there, but and your first call out was going to be AJ. You said top 10, correct? Minus 136, something like that.
Yeah, that was one that I'm in and talked about that one on the pod as well.
Yeah. I want to call out and say thank you, Cooking at the Lakes, for giving us a super sticker, $20. Look at that. So thank you we appreciate the support there. We might even apply that $20, maybe to an outright. That's a drink up, boys. Look at that. That's perfect. Every time we get a sticker like that, we drink up a little bit. So I like that. It's a good little start. Let's move into the outrights now, and let's make some of that $20 look a little bit more profitable. So in the outright market, Phil, I'm going to give you the floor here first. Where are we at?
All right. So there's definitely value, or value is probably the wrong word. There's definitely guys that you could look at that are better odds than this, but I'm going to take the easy way out. I've alluded to it a couple times already. Chevy manufacturer bet. I had them at minus 105 is the best number I could find. They're 15 cents more expensive elsewhere. So I like minus 105 there, just about even money. And it's really interesting because Chevy, I mentioned they won 2 so far this season with Bowman and Larson. If you go back the last 4 races, they've got a 4 road course hot streak going. The next gen era, it's been all Chevy minus Truex one time, McDowell one time, and Reddick, I believe. Other than that, it's, just crazy how good Chevy's been. You look at Chicago last year, SVG, wild card guy, comes in, driving a Chevy, gets it done. But let's just hypothetically say he runs out of gas. Who's in second? A Chevy. What if he runs out of gas? Who's in third? A Chevy. They had the top 5 drivers at Chicago last year. They're just so good on road courses. And they've got so many bullets in the chamber. Anybody could get it done. We talked about AJ. We talked about SVG. Larson could get it done. Byron, somebody in the comments said, it's starting to be Byron season. How about Chase Elliott? So I've got so many bullets in the chamber.
The magical chassis.
Yeah, and Chastain as well. You got so many guys for the Chevy camp that can get this done. And the funny thing about it is, if you're looking at average finish and driver rating, the last 2 races so far this year, driver rating, average finish, other stats, the last 8 races, the top guy is not a Chevy driver in those metrics. And so the point is, it's an eclectic group. And you could talk about Ford drivers. You could talk about, somebody like McDowell, Buescher, right? But after that, it's not a deep bench. Same with Toyota, Gibbs, Bell, Reddick. They're good guys, but if something happens to those guys, not a deep bench for Toyota, not a deep bench like overall for them. They got like 7 guys. So Chevy, most drivers in the field, most consistent drivers to give you a chance to win. I'm all over them. I've already bet them this week.
What was the number?
It was minus 105 on Caesars. Okay. So assuming that's still there.
So I think a good question here before I move to you, Ryan, is from Kyle. And he's asking, is the move then just to take Hendrick at plus money over what Chevy is at minus money right now? Because, a couple books, I know ESPN's one that usually does that, where pick the team that's going to win the race. Is that?
No, not with college.
I wouldn't, with SVG being the favorite, with Chastain and like, what if Suarez were to do something? Like, who the fuck knows? But like, I discredit him every time. But like at a track like this, if you bet Hendrick, that's exactly what would happen. It's like if I bet Hendrick myself, like that's exactly what would happen. Is like somebody like that would win. So the reason I'm taking Chevy is to avoid something like that. It's because
I thought the same thing. Thought the same thing last week, and I was like, oh, well, if I take JGR over Toyota, I get a better number on Hamlin. But I'm like, with my luck, a goddamn another Toyota is going to come in there and win it. And sure enough, there's Reddick steaming up at the end of the race. I'm like, good thing I took. I mean, it didn't work anyways, but good thing I took Toyota. Right. I don't know. You just have those guys come out of nowhere.
I think that it's a good question, Kyle. I really like that. I think outside of Hendrick, it's really Chastain, and I think that's it. I don't put a whole lot of stock. I think there were some situations that happened for SVG to really do the things that he was able to do. I don't know if we see that again here this week with not a rain course. Like there were multiple elements. Even the single file restarts really helped him. People weren't able to rough him up a whole lot. Ryan, what about you? What do you think? From an outright perspective?
So last week, what I did was I took Larson and then I took Toyota. I just had Toyota versus Larson. That was my stance. Yeah. I think my stance is similar to Phil's this week, but so I'll take my favorite Toyota, and then I'm probably on that Chevy camp as well.
Yep.
So I took Reddick at 7-1, just because I can't go against, like, I look at everything. I try really hard to, I adjust everything for the equipment, for incidents, for everything like that. And Reddick still came out number 1. And I know he hasn't been the dominant road racer this year. That's fine. but he was really good last year on the street course before all the shit went down. Give him some more time sim in that race and more time to just think about what he could have done better. I think that Reddick could be really good here. However,
Did we lose Ryan?
Phil? I think we lost Ryan and we lost you. I'm not sure what happened. So
I was
I'm
just
going to
grabbing
assume
another beer.
Hey, what's the last? Yeah, sorry, I was just sipping my beer. What's the last thing you heard?
not a clue. Not a clue because
Okay.
it went in and out.
It was like 10 seconds ago.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Well, all I'm saying is, I'm trying to think about where I was. So I'll take Reddick because did you hear that? I just think he was great here last year.
We heard. Oh, and
oh boy,
maybe this is a bad omen.
I'll finish up for Ryan Reddick. Like that's exactly the strategy that I had. 7-1 on FanDuel is a great number for him. I actually have a bet that I'll talk about in a second in the next section with him involved. He is just someone that, if you're basing your card around Chevy, who's going to beat you? I think Tyler Reddick could beat you. You would not be shocked if he were to get it done. He's got the numbers that could do it. So yeah, I mean, I know Ryan's back here. Go ahead. Oh,
can you hear me? I just keep cutting out. I have like full bars Wi-Fi. I don't know what's going on here, but
the internet limited you.
Yeah, I'm getting limited everywhere. Phil said it. Reddick, I like Chris Bell a lot too, but I'm not really worried about Hamlin, Truex, anyone like that. So I just took my favorite Toyota. I'll do that. 7-1 I thought was a little extreme. Our Sims have it fair around 450 to 5. So I don't know. I'll take that. And then if Chevy looks good, how much worse is that number going to get? Are they going to be like minus 130 or minus 125 or something like that? So I'll probably just take that afterwards if I think Chevy's going to win, and I'll be okay. If something weird happens, Reddick could win anyways. But I'll just do it after practice and qualifying. Or take my favorite Chevy at a better number.
True. There you go. So I think the third or fourth time there, Ryan, was the charm for you.
Sorry,
Phil. No, it's not your fault at all. It's a lot of people are chiming in, so it's all good. Phil, you were talking about somebody that you wanted to tease going into the best bet portion, best value. What have you found for us?
So let's keep the Reddick conversation going.
Okay.
And I never do this, but qualifying bet. He's plus 105 head to head against SVG for qualifying. All right.
Okay. Talk to me.
I can't speak to what SVG is going to be able to bring to the table. You did call out, or SC called out different equipment than he was in last year. He did qualify third last year. But what got my attention as staggering was Tyler Reddick's starting position on average in the last 8 road course races is 2.8. 2.8. He has 5 second position qualifyings, 1 pole and a third. His worst position is 8th. Like, wow. I know SVG is not going to start 9th, but I mean, he finished, or he started 3rd last year in this race, still lost this bet, and Reddick is plus money in this head-to-head matchup. I think we got to run to this one. He's so good off the truck on these road courses. He hasn't done, a ton that he could be doing with those starting positions. He only has 1 victory in that time span, 3 top 5s, but he's starting good off the truck, and in practice they're figuring it out quickly and putting together a nice lap. So plus 105 on Caesars right now over SVG in qualifying. And I never call out qualifying bets, so that's how you know I'm actually into it.
I know that. And the other interesting, they probably have it priced that way because SVG is in Group A, where Reddick is in Group B. And traditionally, you kind of try to figure out who's in that Group A, Group B. But I think at the street course, I don't really think that matters because we're not laying down a whole lot of rubber. Like, there's not going to be that element of, okay, it's significantly slower in this group, unless weather would be some type of a factor. But the way that they do the qualifying now just sucks as can be. But I might ride that with you. You said it was plus money. What was the number? Let me maybe get a little action on Saturday.
Plus 105 on Caesars Sportsbook.
Okay. Ryan, what about you? What do you think about that? What's your best bet, best value on the board?
I like that. I like that bet a lot. Good logic. I was going to mention that earlier about Reddick too. Is that starting position is just ridiculous.
2.8.
Yeah, that's nuts.
That's
and then, like you said, Derek too,
around
is different equipment. It's not going to be the same exact setup or anything as he had last year. So there are some unknowns with SVG heading into this.
Yep.
Had they said he's just racing the same 91 as he raced last year, then probably not. You don't take this, but there are some unknowns there where Reddick is in the same thing. He's been doing. I like Reddick a lot, as I've obviously already stated. As far as the best bet for me, I really think it's the AJ over Cindric, which I already mentioned. So I don't really want to throw anything else out there. It's juicy as shit. But if you can just suck it up and deal with it, in no world should this be that close, in my opinion. So that's my favorite, best bet of the week.
Okay. So that's your best bet of the week there. And if anybody has any comments or questions, or I should say comments of best bets, let us know whether you're on YouTube or on X. And also wanted to highlight as well, because we did mention, Cooking at the Lake House. Really appreciate, again, you giving us that sponsor or that $20 donation, because we can do that through In Between Media. They have over 1,000 subscribers, which is a lot of fun. So if you guys don't mind on the In Between Media side, make sure you give her channel a like and subscription as well, because it helps her out, and then you guys get notified whenever she goes live. I'm a huge cooking fanatic. I actually almost bought a Traeger the other day. I need one. I want one. I want to smoke some stuff. Had some smoked meats down in Nashville, so I got excited for maybe buying one soon. So Phil, I'm going to let you have the floor first. How can everybody support you, my man?
Well, yeah, really appreciate you hosting this week, Derek, and shout out Mark on vacation.
Yeah, we got quicker. The show's ending quicker because Mark's not here. Let's see if he listens. Let's see if he listens to that.
Yeah, but yeah, Full Tank with Phil's name of the podcast. We just put this one out earlier today, so break down the Cup action every week, and you can follow me at Full Tank Phil Instagram. Put the card out there on race day, and on Twitter as well. So love to talk shop each week. Let me know who you're riding, and I'll most likely, especially on a bender weekend like this one, most likely I'll just blindly follow. So yeah, let me know who you got.
I like that. It's always good, especially when you can pair it up. My buddy's pairing them up with the Phillies right now. They're red hot. So
they're in Chicago. They're gonna lay the groundwork
money
for
yesterday. Yeah, he said he got him at plus money. So I got to respect that. Phil, Ryan, what about you? Mr. Limited, how can everybody support you? Obviously, Win the Race.info is not limited to anybody. Anybody can come out, support, join the Discord, and get a subscription there. So how can everybody support you?
Yeah, thank you. It's wintherace.info. We're doing half off your first week or first month. That's not stopping for the rest of the year. So if you want to check it out, come check it out for half off. Hop in the Discord, bunch of cool people. That's my favorite part about it is even when we have just a disaster at the end of a race last week, everyone's still riding. So it's we know the process was right. We just continue to march on. It's a freaking marathon and not a sprint. And that's so hard to tell yourself all the time when you get your dick kicked in like that, but it's just what we got to do. So I appreciate it. Wintherace.info. Come check it out. It's a lot of fun. Appreciate you guys too. This was a great show. Thank you. And Mark, we missed you. Hope you're enjoying those corn cans. I saw one in the shower with you, so I know you're enjoying them.
That boy starts drinking and then he starts putting out some shower pics. Hopefully the corn can is the only thing that we see with that. So make sure you follow me at Derek Yoder _ on X. Make sure you follow the show, like I said, here In Between Media at In Between Media on YouTube. They're going to be doing the back road here Wednesday night at 9:15. So make sure you go grab a beverage, come right back, listen to what they have to say from a DFS and betting perspective. They'll get you locked in. Make sure you guys follow the show as well in the podcast form, because we're going to have that out. And have a wonderful 4th. Have a great weekend as the series goes to Chicago. But next week, it's in Phil and I's hometown of Pocono.